Hi everyone, and welcome to this series of examiner invigilation training. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. It's a very short PowerPoint just with a few brief points, and if you have any questions at all at the end, please don't hesitate to either contact me via email or via the text message. So first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be invigilators this year, and it's been a little bit of time since we've actually had the opportunity to get together and have an exam series, and hopefully it'll all come back to you easily. So the exam room in itself is still going to be supervised study for these November examinations which are being held. It still is adhering to the JCQ requirements, which are that there's a 1.25 metre spacing between desks, and that is because each group is regarded as a bubble. In fact, Year 12 are only going to be in that exam hall, and I'm moving some of the Year 11s outside of the exam hall so we can have a larger spacing for them. It will be a well ventilated area with doors being open and windows being open, and bearing that in mind, please come dressed to provide extra heat. I would recommend scarves, I would recommend extra layers, because whenever it has to be well ventilated, it does get slightly colder. And in guidance with the regulations, there will be hand sanitizers on the entrance, so all students will be expected to sanitize their hands on entrance to the examination hall. Students are also being made well aware of the regulations. They are being sent a similar PowerPoint to this, and I am also speaking to each class individually over the next couple of weeks, or next week I suppose, with regards to exams, so that they are aware of what is expected of them. They are aware that they are allowed to wear masks into the hall, or they're expected to wear masks into the hall, but the guidance suggests that they are allowed to bring them off when they're in the hall, so just be aware of that. There are no mobile phones, no watches or electronic equipment allowed within the hall, and that is actually a bit of a different stance this year. Instead of just saying no smartwatches, the regulations now state that there are absolutely no watches allowed at all within the exam hall. So we have put it out to parent mail that they should be left at home in a safe place, and also with the mobile phones and watches. I'm not 100% sure how well the students will adhere to that, but we're trying to set the precedent really well this year so that we don't have to have them in the hall and have a cluster point at that stage. With regards to invigilators, a bit of a change is that there are no mobile phones allowed with the invigilators except for the chief invigilator. So only the chief invigilator should have a mobile phone in the examination hall. So I would ask that you keep your phones in your car or at home as much as possible. We would recommend that you wear masks and visors at all times when in the examination hall. It can also be that you may wish to wear gloves. I can provide gloves for invigilators to wear, and also if you wish to have an apron, please let me know in advance. It would be a plastic apron. My only concern about that would be the noise that a plastic apron would introduce, but please make me know if you would like one. Can I also ask that invigilators are aware of the need to maintain social distancing? You do need to walk through the hall, but do not stop close to students if possible, or do so for short periods of time, and also maintain the social distancing between the other invigilators as much as possible. Room setup, so all the exams in November are AM exams, so the setup will begin from 8:45. I would require that all materials are being set on the desk, so that would include extra pieces of paper, extra graph paper, as much as possible to minimise contact that you may have with the students throughout the examination. It's required that the invigilators check the correct papers are on each desk. There's a thing called a 2 pairs of eye check that we have to do whenever we're opening the papers, and I would really like to start that whenever we're checking the papers on the desks, that at least 2 invigilators check the room setup before the students actually come into the hall. Desk cards for the first examination will be placed on the desks, and I would like to ensure that the invigilators also check those and make sure that the correct desk card is on the correct desk. During the exam, The main protocol for the invigilators is really to keep an eye on the students, to make sure that they are not trying to communicate in any way with any of the other students, that they are not doing anything that would be designed as malpractice. If the student needs to be escorted to the toilet, we still have a need to do that, and that would be done just in a normal fashion where you escort them to the toilet, wait outside, and then bring them back again. If the student is going to the toilet more than you feel is required, please let me know. You would provide extra materials to the students if you're required, so extra paper, extra graph paper, etc. And you should be aware from the seating plan of any students who are needing prompted, and this is going to be something that we need to be more aware of in the future because it is something that more students are getting access to. At the end of the exam, the students are aware that they need to remain seated. The invigilators will collect the papers by row as instructed by the chief invigilator. The students will then be dismissed by the chief invigilator by the row, but in a quiet and orderly fashion, and only one row should leave at each time. And invigilators should be aware of extra time students. They will be seated at the front of the hall as much as possible to try and ensure that we don't miss them, but there are extra time students who have only been added to the access arrangements in the last week, so we need to be aware of them as well. So really, at the end of the exam, invigilators need to help check in the exam papers. They need to organise them in order of candidate number on the attendance sheet on top. And really, all papers must be accounted for before anybody leaves the examination hall with regards to the invigilators. Invigilators should already have checked that the students are not leaving with any booklets. So we need to make sure that all the papers can be accounted for. That's basically everything that I have to say, short and sweet, but if you have any queries, please email me or text me in advance of the first exam, which is on the 26th of November, and all being well, I will see you at that stage. If you ask that you please, whenever you come in on the 26th of November, that you go to front of house and that you sign in as a visitor. They may or may not give you a visitor pass, but it just keeps us right that we have an account of all the people who are in the school at a certain time. Whenever you're leaving, you would also be required to sign out at front of house. So if there's nothing else, I look forward to seeing you on Friday the 26th of November, and take care.